You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. How are you doing this morning? How are you feeling? I hope you are keeping warm. Thank you for being with us here on 702. I wish you a super good day. And please spare a thought or say a prayer for parts of the Eastern Cape that are affected by severe weather. Sfiso Zulu reporting in Eyewitness News that the Scholar minibus that was swept away by floodwaters in the Eastern Cape is now being found. It was a 22-seater. It was traveling near Mthatha when it disappeared yesterday with an unconfirmed number of children on board. So the transport was now found with no passengers inside. And of course, the number of people whose bodies have been recovered since the rain and snow started battering the Eastern Cape this week has now risen to 9. So it's really is a sad situation, what we're seeing in the Eastern Cape. The South African National Taxi Alliance, which said that the bus that was missing was operated by one of its members, said that there were 3 children that were rescued after they clung onto trees. And there are other children, we were told yesterday, that were missing. So if you've been affected or you have a family that's been affected by the floods in the Eastern Cape, just know that you're in our thoughts. I hope that the recovery process can really be processed quickly so that we can know the status of the others, if there are others that are still missing even at this point. We kick off the show with the 702 open line. You can call us on 011-883-0702. If you prefer to send us a WhatsApp voice note, you can do so on 072-702-1702. President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced details of the national dialogue that he's been talking about. Remember, the president announced during his inauguration last year that he would convene a national dialogue to bring all South Africans through their various formations together for a social compact that will unite everyone, all the South Africans. So he says this is a chance, this dialogue is a chance for all South Africans from all walks of life to come together and help shape the next chapter of our democracy. What do you think about this national dialogue? And will you be participating? Because you don't also want it to be a meeting of elites, right? Communities must be involved, including the poorest of communities, far-flung areas. Because those are the people that are most affected by the challenges that this dialogue is trying to find solutions to, no? So the president says the dialogue will be a representative gathering. It's going to be bringing together government, political parties, civil society, business, labor, you name it, traditional leaders, religious leaders, cultural workers, sports organization, women, the youth, community voices, among others. And the views and the concerns and proposals that will emerge from this conversation will be brought together at a second national convention that is planned to be held in the beginning of next year. And then after that, a common vision and program of action for our country into the future will be adopted. So give us a call, send us a WhatsApp voice note. Let me know, what do you think this dialogue will achieve? How will it help resolve, especially the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality? Do you think it's going to help in any way to resolve the challenges the president has spoken about? Or is it going to be another talk shop? What do you think is going to be discussed in this dialogue that we don't know about? Because we're aware of the challenges. Talking about them won't be a silver bullet. And yes, the conversation is probably much needed now. But what happens after that is what I'm looking forward to. Are you hopeful that this will help us resolve our challenges as a country, help us chart the next stage of our democracy? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Morning, Clement. I don't see how this dialogue is going to help anything. After 32 years of corruption, decay, and doing nothing, now you want to talk. What are we talking about? We've been talking. We know what's wrong. Fix the things that are wrong. Finish and clear. I think this guy is just running down his time until he's out of office and he can just go and retire. That's it.
Well, I don't know. I do think that, it's important for us to talk, especially because we have entered a new dynamic in the country through this government of national unity. And this may very well be our reality for the near future. So I think there is a need for a conversation at some point. I just wonder, what is it going to produce? Because I don't think we just need to talk for the sake of talking, right? What happened at Kodesa? What do you think that has been able to produce? And I'm not suggesting it was a useless exercise, but I'm trying to say, what's the return on investment? What is it that comes out of these dialogues we have that somehow really help shape the future? Because in this case, for instance, now, you could very well argue, why are the leaders of the government of national unity themselves not doing a dialogue? Because they already know what the challenges are. They need to figure out how they're going to resolve the challenges. But then again, you've got people that are most affected by the challenges that are often not given the voice. And here's an opportunity for them to speak and say, this is what's affecting us and this is how we think you can help us resolve these issues. Because they're powerless. There are communities that are powerless. The leaders are the ones that must resolve this. So we need to reimagine our future. That's what the president says. We need to think about where we are going as a country. So I'm interested as to whether you're going to be participating. I don't think there's anything new that's going to come in as far as the diagnosis of the challenges the country faces is concerned. I don't think people are going to say, after the dialogue, we're going to say, oh my God, I didn't realize that's a challenge. We know the challenges that this country faces. They've got to be resolved. And we've got leaders that we have elected into power, parties we've elected that we expect to do this work, to resolve those challenges. So the EFF actually sent out a statement, probably one of the first parties to send out a statement to respond to what the president said. And they said that they reject completely and with contempt the appointed individuals who will form part of what is referred to as eminent persons. I don't know, I was joking with Bongani and I call them influencers because I'm struggling to figure out what then becomes their role in this particular process. So the president says that there are leading figures in our society who are reflecting the great diversity of our nation with a proven commitment to the advancement of social cohesion and nation building. And these are the people that have been appointed to somehow spearhead this dialogue. And some of them, if you've missed it, include, I can't go through the list. I think there are 31 of them. Dr. Brigelia Baum, Robbie Brosen, Judge Edwin Cameron, who's one of my favorite people. That's the former Constitutional Court judge. You've got people like Dr. Desiree Ellis, Banyana coach and football legend. You've got people like Professor Nomboni Sogasa, who's a researcher and rural activist. People like Dr. John Kani, the award-winning actor, Siya Kolisi, Springboks captain, Mia Leroux, the Miss South Africa 2024. The the Bishop Barnabas Lekhanyani from ZCC and Bishop Engenas Lekhanyani from St. Engenas Zion Christian Church. So there are a number of people, Reverend Thabo Makgoba, Professor Tinyuko Maluleka, who's the chairperson of the National Planning Commission, Dr. Barbara Masekela, poet, educator, stalwart, Lindiwe Mazibuko, remember her? The former member of parliament for the DA, Rolf Meyer, former minister and constitutional negotiator. Gcina Mhlophe is also there. She's a storyteller. She's a writer. Nompumulelo Mkhatshwa isn't, the student activist. Remember Fees Must Fall? She was one of the Fees Must Fall leaders. Khutacho Munchani, Grand Slam tennis champion. Professor Bekin Chalinchali, a unionist. There are lots of people. Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, the founder of Gift and the Givers. So there are a number of people that the president has appointed here. Maybe they're still going to decide on what their responsibilities will be. But I think, I want to understand that, because I don't think the expectation is that they're the ones that must have some answers. So they're the ones that must somehow lead the conversations. I think they're probably going to be more of ambassadors of this national dialogue. But the EFF rejecting this list of quote-unquote eminent persons, but the EFF also saying that it's going to make sure that it participates in all the aspects of this national dialogue in each and every government program, because it's up to the people of South Africa to ensure that this process is not utilized as a campaign tool for the African National Congress. Because remember, the elections are coming up in a couple of months, the local government elections. So the EFF is also calling on you as members of the public to participate in this program, so that it doesn't become somehow an ANC kind of a program. So what are your thoughts about the people that are included here, eminent persons? I saw Tsiri Madia was reporting this morning in Eyewitness News that there are some foundations that have been pushing for this that have somehow been left out. I mean, remember the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, the former president has spoken a lot about the need for a dialogue. The Nelson Mandela Foundation, the Ahmad Kathrada foundations as well, they are not on that list. It doesn't mean they are not allowed or, they are barred from participating. But I suppose you would have thought that they become also part of these organizations that are going to be part of and spearhead this national dialogue. So, your thoughts on 011-883-0702. Koketso, you are in the East Rand. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Morning, Clement. No, I just wanted to say that, we had the CODESA dialogues, and even till today, we're still questioning what was agreed in terms of what was the final legal document that these people signed.
Oh, Koketso, we're losing you.
Looking in for dialogue.
Sorry,
and
just repeat that, Koketso. We lost you there for a bit, yeah?
Oh, yes, hi, Clement. I was saying I'm all for the dialogue and for talking and for discussion, but I think I'm more interested to see what legal document comes out, out of this. Is some sort of a treaty or some sort of a legal document that states certain things? Because I think that will actually give us what these people are thinking. And also, it's just similar to like with CODESA, how various people felt left out of that dialogue. So if they're almost going to go with the elite people and the people who are the elites of society, and then they leave out the ordinary person out of this dialogue, it will also almost like result in problems like what we are currently experiencing now in South Africa, where the elites took a decision in the early 90s, and then now we are here, do you understand, because of decisions that were taken in the CODESA talks. So if they leave out the ordinary person, it can be problematic for us in the future.
That's also my interest, Koketso. What happens after, and whatever document that's going to be drafted with all the proposals and the resolutions, what sort of standing does it have? Because it's all good and well to talk, but what are we doing about what's going to be proposed? But Koketso, in terms of, in as far as diagnosing the problem is concerned, do you think we still need to talk about that? Because we pretty much know what the challenges are, don't we?
Clement, we've diagnosed our problems. In South Africa, we know what our problems are. But you see where we always fall short is coming up with the solution. So, for instance, we know that violent crime is out of control, particularly rapes and murders, right? So we now know that the parliamentarians, who are the people who are in essence the legislators of this country, must actually change the law to make it firmer so that people feel safe in their communities. But they're not doing it. So the problem is that we talk and talk and talk, but when it actually comes to the actual outcome and the substance and seeing something tangible arising from this thing, nothing ever comes of it. And this is the problem that we're facing in South Africa now.
Yeah, if the majority of people say whoever rapes a child, there must be a return of the death sentence, for instance. Like, do you think that then this dialogue, the proposals then will go to Parliament and we want to change the legislation? Again, your point about the legal standing, because there could very well be all kinds of proposals, but is there going to be political will to go with them? And what's the point of bringing South Africans to come talk if you're not going to take what they say and implement it?
Exactly, Clement. That's the thing. If you're not gonna, for instance, right now we currently know that some of the things that people are calling for need constitutional amendments.
Yes.
So if they're not going to be willing to amend the constitution, what is the point? Do you understand my point? So people are just basically going around in circles. And I sometimes feel this is what our politicians enjoy, where they're more performative. They want to be seen to be doing something. But when it actually comes to the meat of the bone, like, what are you actually doing? How are you actually changing this thing? This is where they fall short time and time again.
Yeah, Koketso in the Eastern. Thanks for your call. Let's hear from Mwako in Polokwane. Mwako, Tobela.
Tobela, Khoshiya Ron.
Go ahead.
I have a problem with our president, man. Let's first clarify, what is this going to serve? What purpose is this public dialogue going to serve? Because we had the public consultation on Section 25, which was subsequently sabotaged by the very ANC. Led by Yena Matame. So what is he aiming to achieve?
Well,
I honestly do not understand, and it's going to be a huge waste of money here.
Yeah, he says we need to reimagine the future because we're stepping into the next chapter of our democracy.
No, we can't reimagine the future when the constitution remains the same. It's not going to happen. And you see, with the presence of the DA and all these right-wing organizations, you are not going to do anything on Section 25.
That's the point I'm making, Marco, that let's say South Africans, right? Let's say the South Africans that are consulted in their majority are saying, change that constitution, or they're saying, we want the death penalty. That process must still be managed by the politicians themselves. So it goes to Parliament, and then they don't change the constitution to allow for a death penalty or for land expropriation, whatever the case is. And then what was the point? So if you're going to call a national dialogue, be brave enough already to make a commitment that whatever the majority of people are proposing, we're making a commitment to implement it. And I doubt that's going to be the case.
Exactly my point.
Yeah. Mwako in Polokwane, thanks for your call. At the end of the day, politicians, the leaders, the parliamentarians are the ones that must somehow implement, especially in cases where there's laws that need to be changed. And there are already dynamics in the government of national unity. So where are we going with the dialogue? What is it going to achieve? MJ in Pretoria, hi.
Hi, Clement. Good morning. Look, for me, I think our president has run out of ideas. This, for me, is just another pre-election PR exercise. You'd recall, just before the elections last year, President Ramaphosa had a national imbizos, and nothing has been done with that. And if you look at this dialogue that he's talking about, he elects these eminent people. But these eminent people, they are no politicians. So what is it that these people will recommend that the politicians will take serious if they are not included? The only active politician is the one who's going to head this, the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile. So these politicians will not take this thing serious. And Clement, what saddens me is this Khutato Monsane, for an example. This lady's story saddens me. This lady, every time she goes and competes at Roland Garros and so forth, you know, Clement, she has to raise her funding.
Yes.
She was even saying last time she has to use the money that she wins to go and fund her participation in the tournament. She's been asking for assistance to get a wheelchair that will help her to participate. Now you want that lady to come and what will she contribute? Desiree Ellis has to prepare to defend the WAFCON tournament. Now, what is Desiree Ellis going to do? Where will she get the time to be involved in this? And you are saying it's going to start now in August, and then they will meet again in January. Why do they have to meet again in January? And Clement again.
Well, it's a process. Sorry, MJ, it's a process. So the dialogues will continue. Then there'll be a convention that the president calls on the 15th of August, if I'm not mistaken, and then another one in January. I think that's the one that's going to say, this is what we're resolving on. This is how we chart the way. This is how we chart the way forward. And look, guys, I really don't think it's a bad thing. You know, I don't think it's a terrible thing for us to have a conversation as a nation. I think that is needed. I think we failed to have a real, genuine conversation even during the transition into democracy. Yeah, the conversation we had was it was too political. It wasn't genuinely engaging communities across the board. And yes, you're not going to get to every community, but please make this dialogue very representative. Make it inclusive. Hear from the communities themselves that are most affected by the challenges the country is facing. So I think it's important for us to have conversations as a nation. But what does that then? What is the outcome of that? We can't just talk. What then becomes the results? What do we do with what we have spoken about? And does our political system, our political dynamics as things stand, especially with the GNU, allow for implementable measures where you come up with a proposal and we know as South Africans that we didn't just waste our time participating there. Actually, what we've said, what's going to be resolved on, is going to be implemented. That's really my question and where my concern is. It's 9:31.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. A national dialogue. What is it going to achieve? How hopeful are you that this is going to help us with the challenges or the difficulties or the problems that this country has? Tabiso, let's start with you in Polokwane. Hi.
Clement, I think first and foremost, let's welcome the fact that after such a long discussions and everywhere in the country, for those that wanted the dialogue, the president has announced that indeed the dialogue will take place. I mean, we've had a number of foundations, like you said earlier on, with what Sidi has said. Let's welcome that finally we'll have that particular dialogue. But two, you'd know, Clement, that most of our time we spend discussing in this particular country. I mean, it might be your show in 702 and many other. We discuss and share all our challenges. And I definitely agree with you, previous caller, who said that perhaps what would be critical and important for us as and when we build up towards a dialogue, what will then be the legal standing. But I see that South Africans are going to raise quite a number of critical issues. For an example, Clement, what would happen if South Africans say that the electoral system in this particular country needs to be able to change? That's one. If South Africans says that we need to bring back the death penalty, that's two. And many other legislative issues that, of course, might need Parliament and might need the government to make sure that we fast track that. Those are the most critical issues that I believe that we need to be able to be well aware, rather than just having a grocery list of individuals that are there. I welcome all of them. I believe they are from a very diverse population, which we will be able to know what is it that they're going to be doing moving forward. But I think what is critical for me will be that, so that as and when we contribute, not only into the build-ups, which probably I suspect they will have, when contributing in your shows and many other shows, to say that this is how we believe that dialogue should be. We want to know that it's not going to be like any other seminars, talk shops that we normally go and raise our issues, but nothing therefore happens. And therefore, it's critical for us to be saying, what will then be if South Africans resolve all those critical issues that I believe that were faced in this particular country. And that will be easier for everyone to participate, knowing quite very well that his views and points will be taken.
What do you think, Tabiso? Genuinely, honestly, what do you think? Do you think, I mean, the examples that I've used, you've just used some now. If South Africans are saying, for instance, electoral change. I mean, yesterday I was just reminding listeners about how many times we have had report after report saying we need an the change of our electoral system. The Zale Slabet report, Kgalema Motlante's report, the former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, State Capture Commission's report. There have been recommendations after recommendations, but politicians don't want that because that's very constituency-based accountability. So if these South Africans who are going to waste their time participating in the dialogue are saying, change electoral system, change the constitution to allow for death penalty for people who rape children, for instance, and I'm just using these examples, is there political will? Is there a commitment that this government is making that when you have made those proposals in your majority, we're not going to have any choice but to go ahead with them? Because then what's the point?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you, Clement, because definitely we need to have an idea as to whatever that is going to be discussed. And the electoral system, in fact, as you have said, in terms of all the various reports, it's in the heart of every South African. But unfortunately, the electoral system that currently have, where only political organizations in parliament takes decisions, do you think that they are interested in the change of electoral
No, they don't want that.
They don't want that, because then therefore you are removing the little power that they think they have, and the power belongs to the people. But I think what is key is to be able that whoever imminent or whoever in government should be able to answer those critical questions to say, if South African says this, are you going to implement that? And therefore all of us can then say, let's participate in this particular dialogue. It's an important thing is the third Codesa, of course, is the important thing that would lead to a better South Africans that everyone would be proud of.
Tabiso in Polokwane, thank you so much. Guys, do you know that part of the statement of intent, so before this government of nationality was formed, remember that statement of intent that the ANC and the DA really agreed on, and then they sent it to other parties? That statement of intent said there must be an agreed policy agenda. Do you realize that we still don't have that? Where's the national dialogue among the leaders of, or even the political parties that are represented in the GNU? They don't have an agreed policy agenda. And that's my worry is, yes, we're going to talk as South Africans. At the end of the day, the ball goes back into the court of the GNU. Already they disagree. They don't see eye to eye on a number of issues. So what makes us believe that they're going to be able to agree on whatever would have been proposed by this dialogue and implemented? Wiseman, you're in the East Rand. Hi.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Sure. Go ahead, brother.
Hi, Clement. I'm just wondering how is this going to help us, this dialogue? Because I think, Clement, everyone here in South Africa know what is the basic issue that we all facing. The issue of unemployment, and then sitting with the illegal migrants here in South Africa that are working, that are not even paying VAT. Then we having VAT that is being proposed to go up every year. Whereas if you could just deal with the illegal immigrant and then put South African people on work, and then you have those people paying VAT, we don't have issues going forward. The biggest issue that we have here in South Africa that we should be looking into, maybe even that task team maybe was supposed to be a task team that will be dealing with the illegal immigrant, trying to assist maybe where it could assist getting out of this illegal migrant here in South Africa, getting young people the jobs so that they can pay VAT, and then we have our country happy. So how is it going to help us, even if the very same, our number one person, the president, you go to Palapala, you find this illegal migrant working for him, you go to his house, very same people working for him.
Are the illegal immigrants working for him?
The Palapala people that stole the money were illegal because
but they don't work for him. They went to steal from him.
Sorry?
They went to steal from him. They don't work for him.
Those who are working for him, they were working hand in hand with those ones that went to steal for him.
So
you remember that?
Are you saying the people who worked for the president were illegal immigrants, or are you saying the people who stole from him were illegal immigrants?
The people who stole for him were illegal immigrants.
All right, thanks for clarifying that. So they were not working for him. It's the people who stole from him. It's 14 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's listen to some WhatsApp voice notes.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning, Clement, and the listeners of 702. Clement, the dialogue. Clement, these people have been talking. They've been talking since the dawn of democracy. Even until now, they're still talking. But they lack an action plan. There's an action plan that's lacking there. You know, if they were to come forward and to say that, listen, this is the plan that we've drawn, this is the execution process of how we're going to execute it, and this is the time frame in which we aim to achieve it, and these are the people that are responsible for implementing this plan. It starts June, and we aim to achieve or to see the results in 3 years. Clement, that would be something, that would be progress. That would be progress. But just talking, Clement, we've been talking, Clement. They've been talking since the dawn of democracy. They've been talking. I've lost faith. It's just another dialogue, Clement, as you say.
Good morning, Clement. Why can't we have a national referendum where the people have their say on paper instead of these dialogues, which is not going to make any difference? Thank you. Cyril Center.
Morning, Clement. I think it's just a political gimmick by the ANC. If after all the brilliant work that our media is Evelyn from Santon.
Hi, Clement. This national dialogue won't fix anything. I mean, 30 odd years later, we haven't progressed. The blame game is in full swing. They're going to be recycling the same old. There's Lynn Brown making a comeback. She was damned in the Zondo report. You're looking at some of them. What is Malusi Gigaba doing there? You know, I mean, it boggles the mind. It's absolute rubbish. Just appoint people that are fit for purpose so we can get the country back on its feet and working again. I cannot believe that we go through this rubbish and people fall through it all the time. It's preposterous, actually. This is Jeremy.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
9 minutes before 10 o'clock. Back to your calls. Musibiadi, you are in Roodepoort. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Ada.
Yes. Madam, now I think, from the word go, to me this time, I've been hagging, I've crowned you to be a president. I believe this dialogue thing. I would ring. And I agree with the previous caller, and we need that in writing. She was supposed to support you. Because of Madam, no man is an island. One talker can talk. And then give us given us our burning issues. I did take it. Now the country is in a mess. Now why years? And again, hi Jiraso, we need a president in a receptive ear. What's the point to talk someone who and once really accumulate all these burning issues, Sarona. Habadi Baba Tula box, suggestion box, government suggestion box, which was supposed to be implemented long ago, but she better common things still is but it take it. Now the 11th the country's in a mess, then they try this. Really now. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wiadi, thank you. Again, stressing the importance of implementation. Will what is going to be resolved and suggested be implemented? Sister, you're in Parktown. Hi.
Hi, Clement. Honestly. Because really, firstly, my question is, how did the president really select these people that are supposed to run with this dialogue, right? And secondly, in communities, there are community leaders who have really tackled community issues. If you look at the community in Eldorado Park, the president, I think, was there when Eusebius, the late Eusebius went there with them. They spoke, they made promises. You go back and ask them if there's anything that has changed. Since then, nothing has changed. So I don't think it's really necessary that the president is going to say, I put these people will engage with the communities. Get the communities to speak for themselves. And secondly, you must have a legal entity that would guide the communities as to what would and would not be able to change. Because if in the later stage you don't implement what we have asked, we are going to say, what's the point? Because some of us are very angry with the crime that's happening. And all I'm going to say is that there must be death penalty. Realistically speaking, I know the constitutionalists will not allow that. But how do you say to an emotionally traumatized person and say to them, no, it can't be, after you've asked them, tell me what are your issues? Right?
And especially
Ramaphosa is just grabbing his straws, going all over the place and not knowing what he needs to do. We must let the people that knows these communities deal with the work, not him. I don't think he has it right this time, honestly.
Well, the communities are going to participate, to be fair on the president. That's why it's religious, sector, political, like politicians will participate. There's going to be an interministerial committee, by the way, that the president is going to appoint. That's going to be established under the chairpersonship of the deputy president to coordinate government's contribution to this national dialogue. But there are many other stakeholders that are going to participate. But I think government needs to be honest also with South Africans and say, we want you to talk, but there are certain things that you may suggest to us that are not going to work. It's like what Glenys Breitenberg said the other day on Monday when we spoke to her. She said that constitutional review, those suggestions that have been made on what to change about the constitution, there are some definitely nots, there are some maybes, and there are some that are definitely yeses. We can look into that. And maybe government needs to be honest with South Africans and say, there are just some things that you guys are going to probably suggest to us that are just not going to work, including 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or they must just take the risk of just talk. Tell us whatever you want, whatever you think is going to be appropriate. And then we will take it and run with it because it would have been the majority of people who made that suggestion. Tsepo in Pretoria, good morning.
Hi, Clement.
Sure.
Clement, the problem with SA is not talk. It's not anything else. It's a political will. You can talk. We're talking every day on radio. We are talking non-stop. I can tell you ANC knows what to do, or the ruling government knows how to fix this. But the issue is they are unable to have decisive actions because so many things that are blocking. A lot of what is blocking would be the likes of COSATU, because COSATU allows anarchy to take place. In other words, government is unable to fire incompetent public officials, corrupt public officials. It's a long story to fire those people. And these are the people who must make our country work. But unfortunately, ANC can't fire any of those, so we stuck with them. Mm-hmm. Number two, if you look at Joburg anarchy is prevailing there every day. You look at people doing as they please. There are squatter camps on the pavements where public needs to walk. There's people selling everything. They're selling same thing the entire street from Bree to I don't know where. They can't make a decision. People take the buildings there. They do as they please. The reason why they can't act is because they're begging for votes. So the votes first, the well-being of the city later. So it's again a decisive action. Decisions that ANC must make. Look at Cape Town where the government works. In Cape Town, the government there do not bargain with the votes. They bargain with their effort. In other words, their effort to run the government. In Cape Town is the only city where you'll find taxi drivers abiding by the rules of the road. And that's in the entire country. Only in Cape Town you won't find a taxi driver driving on an oncoming traffic or keeping the yellow lane when everybody is on the correct lane. You don't see buildings in Cape Town, the CBD, full of dishes, the DSTV dishes as if they are flowers. The city has managed because they're not bargaining with the votes. They run in the city and they let their actions speak for them so that they can get the votes. It's the opposite in the ANC. And until we fix the political will, where ANC says we don't care for the votes, we want to run the government, we're going to run the government. If anarchy prevails, we're going to deal with it.
And let's remember, it's not the ANC, right? The president of this country, yes, is a deployee of the ANC, but he represents, you as a South African, but largely also the government of national unity, which includes other parties as well. Let's just remember that, because it's not the ANC holding this dialogue. Yes, they are the majority party in the GNU, but it's the government of national unity. That's why you'll see in that interministerial committee, there are likely to be some DA ministers represented there as well.